We thought mother-in-law would be okay after our wedding. Plus update.
My dear husband, 29M, and I, 28F, got married last month. We had the perfect day, and if you ask any of our family and close friends, they would agree. Except for mother-in-law. Dear husband's and mother-in-law's relationship has never been great. His grandma raised him, and mother-in-law came back into the picture fully when he was in his early 20s. We were together at this point, and I got along great at first with mother-in-law. But that didn't last very long. They've always had issues, but things have really gotten bad over the past couple of years. I partly believe it was due to the wedding. Another part, which I'll take some of the blame for, was us putting up boundaries and calling her out on her behavior. When speaking to my therapist last year, she suggested that dear husband and I research ways to deal with narcissistic parents, as mother-in-law checked a lot of the boxes. She did warn us, though, that her behavior would get worse if we implemented some of these practices. And she was right, lol. I naively thought that things would be better after the wedding, and she would calm down. We went to mother-in-law's house for supper a few days after the wedding, and some of her comments were, "It was the worst wedding she's ever been to." Everyone was complimenting her dress and how good she looked, that absolutely no one looked as good as her. And how it's pathetic that the bride wasn't the most gorgeous person there. I looked so bitchy and miserable the entire time. Me and dear husband have the ugliest crying faces. She doesn't understand how we had so many friends there. She thinks we invited random strangers to make her think we have a large social circle. My dear husband is usually a very calm, level-headed person. When it comes to arguments with mother-in-law, it typically consists of her screaming and him responding in a normal volume tone. He will still defend himself and me when she's attacked us, but doesn't do so in a raised voice. Not this time. He lost it, and we ended up leaving supper right away after some insults were hurled back and forth. After a few hours, we realized how wild she sounded, and even if she was right, we're married now, and that's all that matters. Dear husband sent her a text letting her know we'll be taking some space and reevaluating how sustainable their relationship is. She's ignored this text, and we haven't spoken in a couple of weeks, but she posted our wedding photos a few days ago, lol.
Update.
Almost 1 year ago, dear husband, 30 million, and I, 29 female, got married. I made a post about mother-in-law and what she said about the wedding, and everybody here was so supportive. Almost a year later, here we are going fully no contact. Some backstory. We didn't end up speaking to mother-in-law until it was almost Christmas. She had tried reaching out a few times, but dear husband stuck to his word and said we would be taking some space to reevaluate our relationship with her. His grandma, who raised him, encouraged us to have a conversation with her before Christmas, so that way when we attended his family's Christmas gathering, it wouldn't be awkward with mother-in-law. She reiterated saying that if we weren't ready, that it is obviously our choice. Overall, the conversation went okay. Dear husband set new boundaries while we began to navigate this relationship again. One boundary set was that she was not allowed to show up at our house uninvited. She argued back that she wouldn't have to show up uninvited if she invited her over more. Dear husband told her that if she's going to continue to make these comments, we're going NC. I'm not sure if it was because we had gone months without speaking already, but she took it seriously and the snide comments stopped. We had wanted to wait for 1 more year before trying to conceive due to work, health reasons. Shortly after Christmas, we found out that I was expecting, and we were ecstatic. We ended up telling my immediate family and some close friends almost right away. Unfortunately, I lost the baby shortly after. Everyone who knew was very supportive, which I'm grateful for. Before I lost my baby, one of my friends purchased a little hat that she embroidered with my baby's name. She told me about it after a few months after, and said that she would like to give it to me, but if I wasn't in the headspace to receive it, that it's okay. I accepted her gift, and it's one of my most treasured possessions now, and it's sitting on a shelf in our bedroom. Now to yesterday. Dear husband's family typically doesn't come over. We prefer to go there as then we can control when we leave. His grandma had picked something up for us and asked if she could come by to drop it off. We told her that she could and stay for a coffee if she'd like. We were under the assumption that she was alone, But when she showed up at our doorstep, mother-in-law was with her. Dear husband and I talked about it, and we decided to let it slide as the relationship has been better, and we didn't verify that his grandma was alone. We were all sitting in our living room having a good visit when mother-in-law got up to go to the washroom. While we were continuing to speak, we heard mother-in-law come running down the hallway. I look up and see her holding the hat from my bedroom with the biggest smile on her face. She starts jumping, saying that she's going to be a grandma, and she's so excited. I tried to keep it together, but I started crying. At the same time, dear husband loses it and asks why she was in our room. I feel like I watched her transform back into her old self before my very eyes. She says that maybe if we didn't ban her from our house, that she wouldn't feel like she has to go into every room. She then asks why haven't we told her that I'm pregnant. While I'm crying, I end up yelling that I'm not. At this point, dear husband's grandma comes over to me and starts comforting me. Mother-in-law then starts screaming at me, asking what I did to her grandchild, starts accusing me of drinking while pregnant, and God knows what else. While she's screaming, my grandmother-in-law takes me out of the room while she tells mother-in-law to shut up. Dear husband is losing it, telling her to get out of our house and that we're done. She then puts on the waterworks and blames the whole thing on me because she was excited to be a grandma, and I fucked it all up. They screamed back and forth some more, but once he threatened to call the police, she left. Dear husband came in the room and sat with me until I calmed down. Grandmother-in-law apologized for bringing her over. She thought that we would all have a nice afternoon and that mother-in-law had changed. Once things had settled, dear husband told his grandma that he doesn't care if he ruins family dynamics, but we are never seeing or speaking to mother-in-law again, and we are done. Grandmother-in-law was understanding and left shortly after. Dear husband texted her that we are never seeing or speaking to her ever again. She's now blocked on everything,